Okay, well, thank you guys both for being here today. We are going to be talking about exploring various types of respite. And Rick and I were talking, there's a very nice picture of a beach with an umbrella, and it seems like a nice place for us to be today, even though it's very nice out here in Cedar Rapids. So what is respite? Respite is a short break, a short period of rest or relief. It provides a sense of temporary relief for the primary caregiver, usually, enabling you to take a much needed break from the demands of caregiving for someone who's maybe sick or aging or disabled. It's usually short, a few hours, but sometimes it can be a week or more too overnight. It can involve, maybe you just need to take a nap and it'd be nice to have someone to come in to give you that break. Or maybe you want to go to the store by yourself and rather not take the person you're caring for with you. You also might need a full vacation to go to that beach, like we were saying, or even a staycation where it's just you by yourself in your home. So respite involves a lot of different things. It also can come in a variety of different forms, which we'll review here shortly. It can take place in a variety of places too. So maybe in your home, adult day centers, residential or nursing facilities that offer overnight stays. It, like I said, can take many forms, but really boils down to two basic ideas, and that's sharing the responsibility for caregiving and getting support for yourself too. So why should you use respite? Seeking respite can help ease that burden of family caregiving and help you relieve stress. It can help you restore your energy, promote balance in your life. It also can prevent you from becoming exhausted, isolated, or even burnout. It can actually make you a better caregiver and all around. It can benefit the person you are caring for as well because it gives them a break, providing them with variety, different people to be around, stimulation, and sometimes a welcome change of routine as well. So it's not just for the caregiver, it's also for the person you're caring for. So seeking that support and maintaining your own health are key to managing your role as a caregiver. I think sometimes we feel that it's selfish to take a break, and it's hard to do that when you have those feelings. The way I think of it is if you're feeling overwhelmed by the daily grind of caregiving, generally your patience and your compassion will be wearing thin. And that's when you'll find it harder to connect to that person you're caring for. And you probably are both feeling unfulfilled at that point, because I'm guessing the person you're caring for can recognize those feelings you're having. So generally when that happens to me, that's when I look in the mirror and tell myself I need an attitude check, and that I need to take a step back and take a break. So hopefully after that break to recharge your batteries, you'll feel more energetic, more focused, and reinvigorated about your caregiving role. You may even be able to take on more new tips at that time because you'll have more energy to solve some of those problems you've been facing as a caregiver. And it may allow you to have more enjoyable moments and rewarding experiences for both of you. So let's talk about the various types. So on the screen here, if you can see it, are a variety of different options for respite that we're going to go over. This is a handout that the Family Caregiver Center has. So if you're interested in receiving this handout, let me know. But it just highlights the various types of respite that are available here in our community, as well as some that the Family Caregiver Center offers, which we will talk about here. So let's start with informal respite, which is really the friends and family. So respite can take the form of enlisting friends and family to watch your loved one. So again, you can take a break. Maybe it's you need to visit with others or go to the gym, handling chores, etc. So if someone offers to help you, take them up on it. I know we live in the Midwest here, and that's a very Midwest nice thing to do, is to offer to help someone. But generally, hopefully, when people say that, they mean it. I think it's difficult to really identify how someone can help you if you're feeling overwhelmed as a caregiver. So here's something that you can do that might be helpful to figure out what someone could do to assist you. So sit down and make a list of everything you do in a day or maybe even a week, and look at that list. So what is something maybe you don't have time for that you don't want to do? So in my case, maybe that'd be dusting. Or what is something you don't have time for that you really do want to do or feel like you need to do for your health? So I know sometimes people put off doctor's appointments for themselves, or maybe it's exercising, something that you can do for you. So when you make that list and you can find areas of things that maybe are exhausting to you that you can take off your plate and ask someone else to do, or maybe you want to find more time to do those things like exercising or whatever, that's where you can find opportunities for people to help. And one way to engage people is when they do ask for help, is to give them something specific. So if my friend Heather says, I would like to help you, I'd say, that's wonderful you want to help. I really need someone to watch my husband John on Mondays at 1 p.m. while I go to the grocery store. Can you do that? So I'm enlisting Heather on a specific day of week at a specific time. And if she says, yes, that's great. If that doesn't work for her, then I can ask someone else to do that. Basically, it's helpful to know what to expect. So you have that built-in break in your schedule and something to look forward to. I think sometimes it's difficult to enlist family or friends. Maybe they don't live here. I think sometimes people feel like they might be a burden on their family or friends. But something to remember is that we cannot do this alone. And your family and friends are generally who know you best. So it might depend on the situation, but it's sometimes easier to welcome them into your home or life compared to hiring someone from an agency. Again, this really varies. Not all of us have close family or friends that live close by or are able or willing to help. But what's the worst that someone can say if you ask them? No, right? And if they say no, then you move on to your other options. I think one way to offer or to involve family and friends in your life so they know what's going on and so that they can jump in if you do need help is to keep open conversation. So talk openly and regularly about what's going on. Try to update them on your loved one's needs and condition. Family members who don't share the day-to-day caregiving experience might not fully understand the stresses that you've been involved in, and they might not know then really truly that you do need help or how they could help. I think having a family meeting, talking about what people can do or would be willing to do is really helpful. Recognizing what your limitations are as a caregiver, as well as what theirs might be too. And then if your loved ones live further away, there are other things that they can do to help. So maybe it's coming to visit and staying, but maybe they're in charge of finances, or maybe they can help, in different ways, sending a care package or something that can brighten the person you're caring for's day. So that's typically where we start when we talk about respite, but again, that's not always an option, and that's okay. There are a variety of different community organizations that can help provide that break. So one of those is what we call in-home non-medical providers. So most of us have heard of probably more so the medical providers. So medical is generally ordered by a doctor. It usually includes therapy, nursing, maybe a social worker or a bath aide. It's usually covered by insurance for a short period while someone recovers or strengthens from a change of health. So that's one type. What we're talking about here, though, is something different. It's more the non-medical side of that. So it does not need to be ordered by a doctor, and it includes non-medical services such as companionship, respite, which we've been talking about, light housekeeping, maybe meal assistance, transportation, and then they can do things like physically assisting with bathing, dressing, transferring if someone needs it, and maybe even running errands for you, going grocery shopping or giving medical reminders. So this service can be really great. Generally, just so everyone knows, it is paid for out of pocket. It's not covered by insurance unless you have long-term care insurance. Some long-term care insurance plans will cover non-medical home care, home care, excuse me, as well as veterans benefits. So again, that can get pricey depending on the amount of time you need. A lot of them vary their cost based on the amount of hours that you use in a row. So we're talking about companies here. In a second, we'll talk about hiring your own individual provider. So if you hire your own provider, your own aide or assistant coming in, it usually will cost less. However, the benefit of hiring a company usually is that they will have a backup if that person is sick or goes on vacation. So that's one benefit. And they also help with scheduling. So something to think about, and again, we'll talk about that more in a second. So we have a list here at the Caregiver Center of those in-home non-medical providers for this area, if you're interested in talking more about that. To hire someone or to really look at kind of what they do and to learn more about their company and if you think they would be good, is to review them online. You can ask your friends or maybe other caregivers if they've utilized these companies and what their thoughts are. You can ask your doctor or other medical providers for recommendations. Sometimes they'll be able to provide those. And then when you found a couple that maybe you want to work with, then it's time to interview. So sit down, you'll meet with your provider to discuss your needs. So maybe you need someone a couple hours a week to help with housekeeping, or again, you need to go to the grocery store and you want someone to spend time with your loved one. Discuss again what your hopes are and how they might meet that. If you're concerned with things like COVID-19, ask them, what their procedures are, how they're protecting you and your family. And then if you have specific expectations, let them know about those. So this is a weird, funny story, but my grandma had dementia, and she had a period where she really was mean, unfortunately, to people who are blonde. Everyone in my family has dark hair. So if we were to have hired someone to come in, we probably would have said at that moment that blonde people would not have been a good fit. Again, a weird, funny story, but for her, that was an issue at that time. So another resource is adult day services or adult day centers. So here in Cedar Rapids and Marion, we have Milestones. There's a location in Marion behind the Fairway, and then on O Avenue in Cedar Rapids. Pathways is another one, also owned by Abbey Health Aging Services, which is part of Unity Point. That's in Iowa City. So adult day services can be really useful as well. They provide a full or half day. Usually it includes meaningful engagement, entertainment, social opportunities, meals, sometimes physical care needs for any individual living with a chronic condition. You can take a tour and check out their services. You could go with your person. Generally, they're paid for privately. They do accept veterans assistance though, and Medicaid waivers as well. And there are some organizations that provide assistance for respite there as needed, so to help you pay for that. Their operations obviously were affected by COVID-19 as well, and I think they're still operating on half capacity. But if you're interested at all, I would call them and take a tour, and tour maybe even before you know you need the service, so you can kind of see what they're like and see the individuals who go there, just to kind of get an idea of when that could be useful in your situation. So we were talking about organizations that provide respite. And here are a couple of organizations that provide lists of individuals that could come out that you could hire as an individual provider. So Aging Services, again, is part of Abbey Health and Unity Point. They have actually a list of individual respite providers that you can hire. And they would do very similar things to those non-medical home health agencies that we talked about. So companionship, light housekeeping, meal assistance, some physical care needs as well. Generally, again, they're paid for privately. Aging services does have a sliding scale, though, if that was something that you needed. So to connect with them, you simply need to call aging services and they can help you through that process. They have vetted these individuals and have done background checks, so you'll know that they are someone that is trustworthy. The ARC of East Central Iowa is another option for those who are caring for adults with special needs. They have a list of one-on-one caregivers or caretakers for, again, individuals with special needs. They have a respite scheduling office that you can call, and their services are generally funded through Medicaid waivers or private pay. So let's talk about overnight for a minute. So sometimes a few days of respite a week might not be enough. You might need a long vacation, a week's worth of vacation or more to really relax and rejuvenate. So you might need to look into more overnight respite. So first you need to determine what location would be best. Maybe it's in the home or maybe it's out of the home. So to consider maybe in-home. In-home is probably a comfortable environment for the person you're caring for. It might cost less, but if you're setting up in-home care for maybe a week, that's a lot to set up. So you'd have to consider, 24/7 support if that's what the need was. Think about things like meals, showers, medications, all of those other needs that go into providing, care in the home besides just the supervision. In-home, would be great if you are going somewhere, right? But say you wanted a staycation, then and wanted to stay in your home, then probably your person that you're caring for would need to go somewhere else. So there are a couple options then where someone could go and stay. We have a list here as well, assisted livings and care centers here in town, pretty much all of them, in fact, provide respite. So they do 24/7 supervision and support as well. You simply call them to set up the respite stay time, and the facility covers setup of the rest. So they have the staff there to provide the supervision, and they have the services there to provide the support. Generally, just, most assisted livings and care centers have what's called a minimum stay. So sometimes they'll say that's 3 to 7 days minimum, and then maybe maximum 30 days. So when you talk to them, try to make sure that you have a plan in mind so kind of, here's the time period that I'm thinking. And cost for that really is going to vary. It depends on your stay, again, the length, and then really what the person you're caring for needs. So if they don't need a lot of additional care, then maybe an assisted living would be a better environment. But say there's someone with a lot of medical care needs, then probably they're going to need a care center. Usually, again, these are private pay, but I know Veterans Administration has respite periods that if you qualify for benefits, that they can help you pay for respite. And one thing I would really encourage is, again, thinking about your options, thinking about needs in the future is always helpful. If you're able to go and tour a place, if you think, hey, this might be somewhere where I might utilize for respite, or even thinking about, future long-term care options, it's always good to go tour and check places out in advance before you might need them. Okay, so the Family Caregiver Center. So unfortunately, a lot of these are on hold, but we're hoping to resume them here in the future. So one of the things that we have offered up until this past year is something we call companion respite. So we have quite a few volunteers that were going into homes, providing a respite break, giving the caregiver time to get away, and also providing some meaningful engagement and interaction for the care receiver. The schedules really varied. So sometimes it was a few hours a week or, as needed if someone was getting a haircut. We did not charge for these services. Um, like I said, generally they were offered in the caregiver's home. But one of the things that we offer here at the Caregiver Center is when we hold events again in person, is we always offer assistance with caregiving. So if you wanted to come to an event and you needed someone to watch the person you were caring for, we could have a volunteer go to your home to watch that person, or they could come to the center where we'd have a volunteer providing supervision and meaningful interaction while you attended an event. So again, something we hope to offer again in the future. But those volunteers would do a little bit of everything from the picture here is someone reading to someone, going for a walk, reminiscing, watching their favorite show. But it was just companionship. They didn't do the other sort of tasks that the non-medical in-home providers do. Another program that we have here at the Family Caregiver Center is something we call our Friendship Force. So this is very similar to the companion respite. However, it's really more focused on the person living with a chronic condition. So we had volunteers that were, had special skills or special interests and would take people out to go do things. So we had one individual that was going out to eat with someone. The picture that's here is there's a volunteer that we have that brought a couple gentlemen out fishing who are living with dementia. And so that was something that they looked forward to every summer, and I hope they can continue it. So those are some different things that we were doing. We have another volunteer with a sports car that would take people out for a ride. So some really fun things that just brought joy to people's lives and, gave them happiness and made their lives hopefully a little better, and also gave the caregiver a break. So the Friendship Force is also no cost. The schedule really varied depending on what people were doing. And it was offered in the home, at the center, or in the community as well. So another thing that the Family Caregiver Center has is a small amount of funding available for respite assistance. The person needing care, or a couple, if the caregiver is a spouse, has to meet Mercy Medical Center's financial guidelines for patient assistance. It really is a small fund, and the amount that's awarded is to be used in a calendar year. So if hours are awarded, respite is provided by contracted in-home non-medical providers. I think we have about 5 that we work with, or milestones. So just so you guys know, it's a pilot program. So there's limited funding, like I said, available at this time. But we feel very fortunate to have that, and hopefully we can continue doing that. And like I mentioned earlier, there are a couple other organizations that also have financial assistance for respite. So if that's something that people do need assistance with or have questions about, we would be more than happy to sit down with you and talk about options and how to apply for those. So I have talked a lot. Does anyone have any questions?